I think it's fair to say as well that going back to the point about it's for the Manx participants, but it's not just the participants. It's for anybody that's involved in any of in the club, but also in the teams. So coaches, managers, administrators, etc. It's going to open up new opportunities for the Manx public.
Yeah, we hope by having a sporting club model, you can centralise expertise potentially, which means you're able to create a new job sector on the Isle of Man. Whereas if you're looking at doing things independently through sports, then you're never really going to either get enough work or get enough income in order to support a new job sector. So whether that be coaching, I work with young coaches, and there's no real professional career for them on the Isle of Man within these sports. I work with people in other performance professions that don't have an outlet for that on the Isle of Man. Media, with journalists, social media, whatever it is, legal. There's loads and loads of careers and professions on the Isle of Man that work within professional sport in England that you can't do that if you live on the Isle of Man easily. So creating a sporting club hopefully allows that job creation to happen quicker than it would do if you've got the clubs separate and not talking to each other and not working alongside each other.
Yeah, I think out of all, just to back up Paul's point there, really, Steve, around like most of these things, they're sort of born out of necessity, really, aren't they? And I think probably Paul's better placed than most of us. He'll be sort of very self-deprecating in his progression, his professional career, but Paul's really in his field. Has got really to the pinnacle of that in some of his previous posts and stuff. And I mean, Paul, you'll probably say how difficult it was to do that from the Isle of Man. For example, at Rangers or Norwich. Maybe that's something that's worth just touching on for a second, really, to sort of emphasise the point, really.
Yeah. It's possible, and people have done it from the Isle of Man, but it's difficult without the experience. And what we believe Sporting Club can do, and the teams that it will own can do, is provide opportunities for experience for whether that's young people or people new to the career or people wishing to stay on the Isle of Man and work in sport. It's providing those opportunities for them. And there's some great people in great businesses on the Isle of Man, and sport just gives them another outlet and another way of diversifying what they're doing. And it's possible. It's hard. I think we've got a bit of a chip on our shoulder on the Isle of Man. Certainly I have, in the sense that, people look down on us, people from across the water in all sorts of different professions, and sports no different, that look down upon us and don't really give us credit for what we do over here, and we do it fantastically well. And that was one of the other drivers, was for Sporting Club and its clubs to be able for us to get one over our bigger partners and the people who have more and have more opportunity, more resources, bigger populations, bigger talent bases. If we can go and do better than them, 100% we can. And this gives us an opportunity as a community to do it together, and to get behind everybody. And if we succeed on the sports pitch or succeed on the racing track, then it's our whole community succeeding. And how amazing is that for us all to be part of that, and the good feeling that will follow, hopefully, for our island.
Yeah, I think it also gives a chance for young sports people, and they are very young, leaving a very nice island and having to go away and try and make their way, in the UK or further afield. It gives them the opportunity to stay living on the island, potentially stay living with their parents, not have to go too far away. And so for their mental well-being and for it to be looked after, it's a lot easier to keep them here, but they still have that exposure, they still have the potential to be scouted by a cycling team, by a football team, to kind of see them there, but still come back home and actually not have to be away all the time, and to allow them to do it. And along with what stuff Paul do at the college, they could still take sports courses at college. They can still carry on with their college education at the same time, so that they can prepare themselves for life quite well, without having to leave the island and have the opportunity to get involved in sport. So our island does fantastically well in
in grassroots and the first part of development, so up to the age of 16, 17 in a lot of sports. What we don't do very well is prepare people for 18 to 23, 24-year-olds in sports, because we can't provide that level of opportunity or experience. So they end up going a bit too soon quite often, and then they find it difficult to establish themselves in professional sporting environments between the ages of 18 to 23. What this does is it means that we can hopefully prepare people for the big bad world while still on the Isle of Man, because we're able to provide competition opportunities for them, for the coaches, for the athletes, for the physios, for the S&C coaches, for whatever it might be. And they get a real feel for what it takes to be a professional and a world-class athlete. And then they're able to make that leap and hopefully stick. Whereas at the minute, they're not quite sticking because it's too big a gap from our local sport to the big bad world. And sporting club and its teams hopefully make that gap smaller. And over time, who knows, there might not be a gap because we've got professional teams on the Isle of Man that are doing it all. And that I guess is our longer term aim and ambition.